Kalkadosh Boker Or, Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Yomi Daf Amud Aleph 76a1. We were speaking about the entire concept of Dok Mina Ve'uki Be'atras. So if you remember, we said Dok Mina means that you're going to judge it from the Ikar of the Halacha. So you're learning your grandmother that is going to be prohibited to you because of your wife's grandmother. So that's Dok Mina. But Ve'uki Be'atra means that you're going to place it with the same punishment. What does that mean? We said that usually the mother is going to be Sekila. So therefore the same thing, and there's not going to be the difference between one or the other. The Sekila is going to be more Chamura. So therefore it's Oki Batra. You're not also learning Mina, the punishment from the wife's grandmother, but rather we leave it, but the same punishment beforehand. So says the Gemara, this is where we're starting today. I mahu kalato asura, afi kalata asura. He says, 1 second. If you're now going to tell me that the family members of the husband, the kalato is going to be asura, we know that a daughter-in-law, you're not allowed to be with a daughter-in-law, correct? So therefore, so too with the krovat ishto, krovata isha, kalata, which is basically the daughter-in-law, meaning his wife's daughter-in-law, okay, is also going to be asura. Now we know that the halacha is a person is allowed to get married to kalat ishto after they get divorced or widowed. Everyone understood the question? One more time. I'm going to ask you a question. A person, his son is married to Mrs. X. Yeah, the son dies or gets divorced. Is he allowed to get married to his daughter-in-law? No. Yeah, no. He's never allowed to get married to the daughter-in-law. Now, again, there's a special thing about the Yibum. That's what we spoke about, Yehuda and Tamar. But usually, meaning, under normal circumstances, let's say she had children. So there's no Yibum involved. Now, the son died. It's not that, he killed him in order to get the... No, the son died. Or the son got divorced. It didn't work out. But the father-in-law already was, was already, I don't know what about his wife. So he wants to divorce the wife and get married to the daughter-in-law. Is he allowed to? No. Kalato is always asur. What about kalat ishto? Kalat ishto means he gets married to a woman and she already has a daughter-in-law. But it's not from his son. It's from his wife's son. Meaning, one more time, the wife, right? The wife that he's getting married to was previously married. She has a boy. That boy gets married. So when he gets married to his wife, he gets married to the wife. He has a stepson, and that stepson is married. That stepson is married. That's kalatona. That becomes his daughter-in-law. It's true, it's a stepdaughter-in-law, but it's a daughter-in-law. So therefore, it says the Gemara, it should also be prohibited for him. Why? Just like we learned, your grandmother, because of your wife's grandmother, meaning your grandmother was not a Sumina Torah. We learned it because your wife's grandmother is a Sur. And therefore we learned it from there. So now go downwards. Your meaning your daughter-in-law is prohibited. So now your wife's daughter-in-law should be prohibited, but you should learn it from there as well. So why is it that your wife's daughter-in-law is permitted? Meaning, if your wife's son dies or gets divorced, you are allowed to get married to your wife's daughter-in-law. Capish? Very simple.
Basically, your stepdaughter.
Yes, your stepdaughter-in-law. What meaning like this? Just like we applied the halachot of left to right, which means how do we know your grandmother's prohibited? Because of your wife's grandmother. So you went to the wife upwards. So says the Gemara, do the exact same thing downwards and the other way around, from the husband to the wife. Your daughter-in-law is always prohibited. So now apply that to your wife's daughter-in-law, that she should always be prohibited. Okay? Your wife's daughter-in-law. Kalata, בדיוק. קלת אשתך. לא, בגלל האישה הייתה כבר נשואה לפני כן. והיה לה כבר בן לפני כן.
לפני שהתחתנת עם אשתך.
בדיוק, אז היה לה כבר בן. הבן הזה מתחתן. זה קלתו? זה לא קלתו, זה קלתה. זה סטפ קלתו. בגלל באמת זה לא הבן שלו. זה לא הבן שלו. זה קלתה. זה קלה שלה. לא משנה מתי מתחתנים. לא משנה מתי מתחתנים. One more time. האישה, בן אדם מתחתן עם אישה. האישה הזאת כבר הייתה נשואה. היה לה בן. כן? עכשיו, הבן הזה לא משנה מתי הוא מתחתן. כשהוא מתחתן, עכשיו זה כלתה, correct or not? האישה שלו זה כלתה, כלה שלה.
זה הבן שלה.
אבל זה לא כלתו.
הבן שלה זה מנישואים אחרים.
כן, בדיוק. אוקיי? כן.
זה כמו שרבי מה קורא
So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi says, Amar Kad, the Pasuk says, Eshet bincha hi. Shemishum eshet bincha ta mechayvo, v'yeta mechayvo mishum eshet benah. Since it says mefurash that kalatecha is eshet bincha, so davka eshet bincha, velo eshet benah. So basically it's a special tirutz that it only applies, the kala only applies to you, but not to the wife. Rava comes and he gives another answer. Rava Amar, Ben leman da'amar don mina u'mina, ben leman da'amar don mina u'vuki batra, la'atia, it doesn't come leman da'amar don mina u'mina, ma hu kalato asura, finami kalato asura, u'mina ma'i biskila, finami biskila. But leman da'amar sekila chamura, kal mifrach, according to the leman da'amar that sekila is going to be chamura, so you could ask, ma lehu sheken imo biskila, tomar behi sheima bisrefa, ve'od bita ve'kalata bisrefa also. So it says, if bita is going to be bisrefa, kalata is going to be biskila. Everyone understood? Let's go back one more time. Doctor, what was the don mina umina? What was it? Don mina, right? Umina means you're learning the ikar of the halacha from the other place, plus you're learning the punishment. The detail, but here the detail is a punishment. You're right, it's detail, but it's a punishment also. So therefore, I'm going to ask you a question. You want to learn, right? If you're going to learn the detail, just like your daughter-in-law is prohibited, her daughter-in-law is prohibited, correct? That's what you want to learn. That's the halacha, right? The ikar of the halacha, which is don mina. What is the mina, the detail? The punishment. I'm going to ask you a question. When we went and we said, if a person comes and he has relations with his mother, right? So what's the halacha? Sekila. What happens if he has relations with the mother of his wife? Meaning not his mother. His mother is sekila. His mother-in-law. What is his mother-in-law? Serefa. Right, but remember, Isha ubita. Exactly, no, because it says Isha ubita, mother and daughter is sirefa. Yes, always, leolam. And it's always sirefa. So therefore, he comes and he says, 1 second, so if a person has relations now with his stepdaughter, what's the halacha? There is. Sirefa, chazak baruch. One more time. Isha ubita. Forget about now, even without blood relation. I mean, even if you don't get married to them. Isha ubita is always serefa. Because it says zimahi. Baesh is sefruotam, zimahi. It's zima. Mother-daughter or
mother-daughter-in-law. Sorry.
Mother-daughter. Doesn't matter whether it is. Whether you're married to the mother, you're married to the daughter. Doesn't matter. You're not married at all. A person comes and has relations with a mother and a daughter. Right? But again, doesn't matter who's the mother and who's the daughter. There could be the daughter that's a mother, the daughter. Doesn't matter who it is. Mother, daughter is always sirefa. So ask the Gemara, how do you explain to me that your own daughter-in-law is going to be sekila and your own mother is sekila? Now your mother-in-law is sirefa and your daughter-in-law should be sekila? How could that be? How could that be? Because how are you going? Meaning, if you're learning, it's not symmetric. Why? If you're trying to learn from his daughter-in-law to her daughter-in-law, his daughter-in-law is sikila. So her daughter-in-law cannot be sikila if the real daughter is sirefa. It doesn't make sense. How does it be? Think about it. How could it be that if a person chas v'shalom sleeps with their real stepdaughter, they only get sirefa? But if he sleeps with the daughter-in-law, meaning the stepdaughter-in-law, it's sekila. It doesn't make sense. That's what the Gemara says. You understand? Like, again, it's all calculation. It's not that difficult. It's just calculations. No, because we do say that the sekila obviously is sekila is yoter chamur, right? Rabbi Shimon says serefa yoter chamur. אנחנו תמיד שואלים, according to Rabbi Shimon that he says this, sekila, ודאי שזה sekila. sekila, serefa, הרג וחנק. No, תמיד. No, אנחנו תמיד. The other way of Rabbi Shimon. We don't pass it to Rabbi Shimon. Okay? So answers the Gemara. הוא בעצמו יוכיח he himself is going to be yochiach. Debito bisrefa vekalato beskila. So says the Gemara, one second. What we just asked is not a question. Why? What happens if a person goes with his own daughter? If a person goes with his own daughter, it's going to be sirefa. But if he goes with his daughter-in-law, it's sekila. So therefore, what are you trying to ask me? You were trying to ask me that you cannot learn for your wife's family because it does not make sense that for your wife's daughter, it's sirefa, and your wife's daughter-in-law, it's sekila. But one second, what about the guy himself? The guy himself also, if he goes with his own daughter, it's also sirefa. So now if he's going to go with his daughter-in-law, it's going to go with sekila. Again, you have the same question. But rather, just like for him, there's no difference between the mother or the daughter-in-law, that it's always going to be sekila. So too, you're not going to make a difference between the mother and the daughter-in-law. So therefore, it's always going to be sirefa. But according to the mandamar, that sirefa is more chamur, then you're right. Then because of this kushia, obviously, you can't learn them. Because it cannot be, meaning that obviously if it's sirefa is the worst punishment, you can't learn it. But you understood the question. The question though is that even the guy's own daughter is also sirefa. And his own daughter-in-law is sekila. So according to that, it's the same thing. But according to the mandamar, that you're only going to judge the ikar of the halacha, but the punishment, you leave it where it is, meaning the detail. Mahu kalato asura, just like his daughter-in-law is prohibited, so too kalata asura, the daughter-in-law mitzvah, the wife is going to be prohibited. But you should say, just like by who it's going to be sekila, so too by here it's going to be sirefa, because you leave it the same punishment that it usually is. According to the mandamar sekila chamura, you could ask malehu that his mother is sekila, and her mother is sirefa, and furthermore, why are you differentiating between the daughter and the daughter-in-law? But according to the mandamar sirefa is chamura, so then again, you can't learn it. Because at the end of the day, right, you can't learn each one because of this gzira shava. Okay? So fine. So now the Gemara goes back. Bito me'anusato. How do we know, right? How do we know that if a person comes and he violates a woman and he has a daughter, how do we know that if he has relations with her, it's sirefa? Okay? So says the Gemara, Ha'amar Abaye says Kal v'chomer. Al bat pito anush, on his granddaughter, he's going to get sirefa. Al bito lo kolshken, on his own daughter, isn't it a kolshken that he should get sirefa? Meaning if a person lives with his granddaughter, he gets sirefa. And that's written in Furash. Okay? But actually, it's a drasha, as we said above, and Ayin Hayamud Bet. So he says, Al bito, so it should be a kolshken. So ask the Gemara, 1 second, what did you just say? Kolshken. What's a kolshken? A kalva chomer. Can you punish from a kal v'chomer? So as says the Gemara, can you do that? So answers the Gemara, no, it's not gilui minta b'almahu. It's a gilui minta. What does it mean gilui minta? It's a gilui davar that the onish that we're talking about, right, is going to be a gilui, right, that the onish is talking about what is the onish. But it's not that we need, meaning we knew that we were going to punish. The only question is what? So it's a gilui minta, it's revealing it, but it's not that we already know we were going to punish like this. So Rava comes and he says, Amali Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Atya hena hena ve'atya zima zima. This is what we learned. We learned the gzira shava hena hena and zima zima. Meaning, there's a gzira shava between hena hena, which is brought down by his family members and her family members, and zima zima to teach you the concept of srefa, because it says srefa by chamotot, so it says srefa by the other ones as well. So srefa is also by the granddaughter as well, right? Tani avua, but there's a third makor now. The Rabbi Avin, lefi shelo lomanu bito menusato tzach katuv lomar badish kohen. Since we never learned about the guy's daughter from his anusato, so we have to learn that really bemet to batish kohen, the daughter of a kohen when she's going to come. Why? It's a bat kohen. Why did it say bat ish kohen? Why did it add on? Just say bat kohen. Why do you have to say bat ish kohen? So it says we're talking about the bat shel ish velo shel ishto. One more time. When it says bat ish kohen, the ish kohen is teaching you that it's not mishto. It's a bat from someone else. So when you have a bat ish kohen, mamash, it's his daughter, even though it doesn't come from his wife. Okay? So ima bat kohen hi bisrefa v'emboala bisrefa. So I've been told he be safai, memora be srefa. Says the Gemara, but 1 second. By Bat Ish Kohen, what is she punished? Bat Ish Kohen, nu makot, tafbet amud aleph. Bat Ish Kohen, serefa, boala, chenek. So therefore, why don't you do the same thing? Just like a Bat Ish Kohen, he be srefa velo boala. So to Bat Ish Kohen, she should get srefa, but if her father goes with her, even though it's boala, velo boala, he shouldn't get srefa. Right? So says the Gemara, Rabbi says, Amarkad, the Pasuk says, Etavia mechalele. Mi shemechalelet etavia, yatsa zo shavia mechalela. He says, only in a case where she's mechalelet etavia, she gets serefa, but it's only he. He be serefa. He mechalelet etavia. But here, avia mechalela. Here, her own father is desecrating her. So since her own father is desecrating her, I do not use the word he to exclude boala. Okay, everyone clear? This was the third one. Okay, Rava Amar. Yeah, Rava comes and he says, Bishlema hatam. I understand over there. Apikte midina debat kohen veukimta adina debat Israel. I took her out. I took the boel out of a din of bat kohen, and I put him on a regular din of bat Israel. But here, hacha adina debat. Where are you putting him there? Adina de pnuya mukman. If you're going to put him on a pnuya, he doesn't get any punishment. If a guy comes and he goes with a pnuya, he doesn't get killed. What's going on? So obviously, so then what are you doing then? So says the Gemara, right? So therefore, right? Obviously, they cannot come and say that we learned the punishment of srefa from that pasuk. So therefore, it has to be that we already just said that there's no agbalah to do with bat kohen. So azhara lebito menosito menayin. So how do you know now the azhara, the warning? So the Gemara now comes and the Gemara now asks, okay, fine. What about now the azhara? Azhara is, right, is what exactly do you do for the, how do you know the warning that you're not allowed to live with her? So, according to Abai Rava, wherever you learn the onish, you also learn the azhara, so that it makes sense. Because if you said now henna, so therefore it's very beautiful. That's where you also learn the azhara, that you're not allowed to be together. But if you're going to go according to Rabbi Avuna and Tanu Batish Kohen, so therefore where's the azhara? You know the onish, you know the punishment, but where do you see you're not allowed to live with her? So Amar Bilazar, the pasuk says, Amarka, Al techalel bitichal aznotah. You're not allowed to come and to profane your daughter through znut with her. That means when we say there, which means that we thought it was to other people, meaning don't make her into a zonah to other people, it means to you. So says the Gemara, Matkiv Rabbi Yaakov Achua de Ravacha Bar Yaakov, Hayal techalel lehachi. That's what you need it for. I would have thought to say that Kohen cannot get his daughter married to a Levi in Israel. Talmud Lomar comes teach you as nota, as a znut, chilul znut הכתוב מדבר. במוסר ביתו שלא לשם אישות. If you give off your daughter to become a zona, that's a pasuk. So says the Gemara. Yeah, how do we know the azara? So according to this, how do you learn it? So he says, what does it mean? I would have had a havamina that you're not allowed, that if you're a Kohen, you're not allowed to give your daughter to a Levi or Israel. Why? Because if you give it to a Levi or Israel, so therefore it's keilu, right, that you're being mechalelota. So it says, no, it's chalelota liznut. Maze lechalelota liznut. To give her over, for example, like what we said before, to give her over to do znut. What are we talking about? Like you're giving her over to an elderly person. Why? Because you're causing her to do znut in such a fashion. In Ken says the Torah, in Ken, let me call the pasuk should says al tachel. My al techalel shemamina tarte. It comes to teach you two different isurim, right? That's what it says over here. What are the two different isurim? Techalel shne suge chilul. Bitul is not and bitul mamash, meaning that a person is not allowed to live with his own daughter. That's al techalel bitichal znota, and he's not allowed to put his daughter to do znut as well. Abaye v'Rava, and according to Abaye v'Rava, hay techalel bitichal znota. What are they going to do with this pasuk? Amar Rabbi Mani, says Rabbi Mani. Somebody that's going to get his daughter married off to a zaken. The Tanya, as we learned in a Braita, al techale bitichal zonota. You're leaving her over as a bogeret. Meaning, if you leave your daughter over as a bogeret, she's going to come and she's going to start doing this znut. Why? Because it's going to reach a time that she already wants to, do things. So says the Gemara, Atu Hamashebi Tov Gorelav Rasha Arumu. He says, what? That's a Rasha. What's he doing? Obviously, we're talking about what's the kavanah? Amar Abaye. Abaye comes and he says, I'm Vav Mubet, yeah, 76b. Hachi Kamar. This is what it means to say. Ezeu Ani Rasha Arum. Who's an Ani that he's a Rasha Arum? Hamashebi Tov will get it. Why? Because basically he's going to purposely come and he's going to leave his daughter with him and not get her married off in order that she could serve him in the house. So since he's Lanani and he cannot buy a shifcha, so he purposely does that. But that's a Rasha Arum. Why? He's going to cause her to do znut. Because she's not getting married, and therefore it's going to cause her to do znut. No, because why did he do it? Because he was an ani. אם היה לו כסף, הוא היה קונה שפחה. לא היה לו כסף, אז הוא משאיר את ביתו להיות השפחה שלו. So he comes and he says, so you have to be very, very careful, right? Not to come and to give etzot, right? That's not going to be for your good. Yeah, לדוגמה, בת בוגרת, שאביה מעלת מין שונים, למה, he's pushing off the שידוכים. You have to be very, very careful. Why? Because it could be that it's not actually good for לטובתה. So אמר רב יהודה מרב, המסיע ביתו לזקן, ומסיע אישה לבנו קטן, המחזיר עבודה לקוטי אליו גדול למען שפות הרבה את עצמה לא יבוא, השם סלוח לו. Hashem's not going to forgive him. So again, a person comes and he gets his daughter married to a zaken, or a girl to his younger son. Yeah, the same thing. Machzir avodah, all these things. So says the Gemara, Meitvei, however tishto kegufo, v'mchabda yoter migufo, v'madrich banav v'nota b'derech yeshara, v'masi samuch lepirkan, alav ha'katuv omer, yadata ki shalom alecha v'kanav v'chav lo techeta. Somebody that loves his wife like himself, he respects her more than himself. Yoter migufo. Right from here, by the way, we learn that whatever you respect yourself, you're obligated to respect your wife even more than yourself. That's the Gemara Mefuresha. We just learned it over here. It's also here. It's also Yevamot, right? That's where it is. Because he says, because since women are much more regishot, so you have to actually be mechabed ota afilu yoter miyemcha. Meaning, I could tell you, why do you do that? You can't do the same thing to your wife. Why? Because your wife, she's yoter regishit, so you have to be mechabed ota yoter mimcha. יותר ממה שאתה היית רוצה לכבד את הכבוד לעצמך, אתה חייב לכבד אותה. והמדריך בניו ובנותיו בדרך ישרה. You have to direct, right, your children, right, educate them according on the proper path. והמסיין סמוך לפרקן. You have to get them married at the proper age. On them it's written, וידעת כי שלום עליך. You should know that your tent is going to be in peace. ופקדך נבך. נבך is your wife. פקדך נבך is נבא פתך. ולא תחתן, you're not going to sin. So you see from here that you should try to get them married young. So answers the Gemara, samuch lepikan shani, no, but that's me samuch lepikan, which means that almost when they're gadol. We're not talking about a 3-year-old boy. We're talking about a 12-and-a-half-year-old boy that's becoming gadol. That's what we're talking about. Then you can get him married. So says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, how ohevet shechenav, if you love your neighbors, v'amkarevet krovav, and you bring your family members close, v'noseh batochoto, and you're going to get married to your niece, right? Batachoto. And you're going to lend money to an ani during the time of pressing need. You're going to call out and Hashem will answer you. You have to love your neighbors. Bring them close. Get married to your niece. You give money, sell it to an ani. You're going to have it. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. He says, what does it mean in the pasuk when it says, you're going to take the mother and the mother-in-law, right, basically, 10, you have to burn both of them. Him and one of them. What does that mean? According to Rabbi Ishmael, if a person gets married to a woman and afterwards he has relations with the mother-in-law, they only burn him and one of them, which is basically the one that he had B'Yisur, which is basically the mother-in-law. Right? Rabbi Kiva says, no, you burn both of them. You understood the problem, though. One more time. A person comes, he gets married. Did the wife do any avera? No. She got married to a man. She's having relations with the man. All of a sudden, he comes and he lives with the mother-in-law. Why in the world? With her mom. So why in the world are you going to punish her? Miskina, what did she do wrong? She didn't do wrong. The mother-in-law, yes. Okay, so burn her. Right? You're going to tell me you do it purposely. Yeah. Meaning that, okay, so you're going to burn her. But what did the wife do? The wife didn't do anything. So okay, so says Rabbi Ishmael, you only burn one of them. According to Rabbi Kiva, you burn both of them. Says the Gemara, right? 1 second, right? We're not talking about. So here he says actually, right, that the Gemara is going to say that we're not talking about the Yishas Kshera. The Gemara is going to explain Rabbi Kiva now, right? So he says, "My bena, what's the difference between them?" Rabbi Ishmael savar oto ve'eten oto ve'tachamen. Oto ve'eten means him and one of them. Shekem lashon Yevani korin la'achat henna, because in Yevani one of them is called henna. Oto ve'tenna, right? Ve'ten. Em chamoto, she's going to be bisrefa, right? We're going to learn midrashatya. Rabbi Kiva savar oto ve'ten oto ve'thtehen. Why? Em chamoto achaktiv. It's written over here. So Rav amar chamoto leachar mita ikvenayin. No, we're talking about chamoto after death. So Rabbi Ishmael savar chamoto leachar mita bisrefa. Rabbi Kiva savar isura be'alma. Meaning there's going to be a machloket Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Ishmael if the wife dies, right? And now you have chamoto. What is the halacha of chamoto? So he says even lachar mita is still going to be bisrefa, according to Shitat Rabbi Ishmael, and according to Rabbi Kiva, it's only a negative commandment. There's no death penalty. Meaning, if the wife dies and now he starts, אבל זה לאו, זה לא, לפי רבי עקיבא, אבל לא משנה. אני שואל אותך שאלה, כהן וגרושה, זה לאו דורייתא? זה אסורה לעולם? הורגים אותם? לא. לא הורגים אותם. זה לאו. גם לא הורגים אותו. קנאים פוגעים בו אם תופסים אותו מיד. What? Yes. These are the people that get hereg. Okay? Arotzeach. Somebody that kills somebody else, he gets hereg. Anshe Iranidachat. Somebody that gets Iranidachat, meaning the people of the Iranidachat, an entire city that come and they do avodah zarah. Right? Remember, we had a question about this one. Rotzeach sheikah treu ben a rotzeach, a murder that he hit, whether it's going to be with a stone or iron, he put him underneath the water, or he threw him into the fire, and he can't get out of there. He pushed him into the fire, pushed him into the river, right? But he could get up there, but still died. He's going to be patur. Meaning, if right now he did something and now the guy wasn't able to get out of it. So imagine he pushed him into the fire. The guy can't get out. So obviously he's going to be chayav. But what happens if he pushed him in and the guy could have come out? He could have come out and he didn't. The guy's patur. Why? Because he didn't actually, meaning even though he pushed him into it, but he could have got himself out of it. Right? If he sent him, right, a dog or a serpent and he bit him and then he died, he's going to be patur. Right? But if you put the nachash to bite him until the nachash actually comes and bites the skin, Rabbi Yehuda says he's going to be chayav, and Chachamim say he's going to be patur. Okay? זאת אומרת, ממש, הוא לקח את ה... he took the nachash בידיים שלו עד אליו, if you just send it to him, fine. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, "Mipnei ma lo ne'emra yad," right? Bebarzel. Why doesn't it say the word yad to do with kli barzel? Meaning kli barzel is kli etz o even. It doesn't say yad. Why doesn't it say yad? Shabarzel memit bechol shu. Because remember, barzel always kills, right? Remember, barzel, metal will always kill. We also learned in a Braita, Rabbi Omer Galuv, that's why it didn't give any shiur to do with Retzichat. That means the second that a person came and he killed with Barzel, doesn't matter how much of metal, he's chayav. But he says it's only if he was dakaroto, right? Of a law, if he hit him something on the outside, right? That means let's say he comes and he hits him on the outside. If he doesn't actually stab him, it's not going to be chayav. Then we said in the Mishnah, if you put him into the water or into the fire, Reisha is coming to teach you. Each one is coming to teach you a chidush. He didn't actually push him, which means he wasn't that he pushed him into the water or the fire, but he fell inside. But he just left him inside. Meaning he left him in there, like he pushed his hand down so he can't get out. Meaning, let's say the guy fell. He didn't actually push him in. The guy fell. Now that he's already down there, he puts him down. And he doesn't let him come up. So you would have said, listen, but he didn't push him. That's still a chidush. He's still chayav. The fact that he can't get up, so now he's gonna be chayav. What's the safe of the chidush? The chidush of the safe is afagav de dechafo, even though he pushed him in and he could have gotten out, right? And he dies, here he's still gonna be patur. But even though he was the one that pushed him in, he could have gotten out and he didn't do it. So says the Gemara, kavash minalan. How do you know that if you stop somebody from being saved, you're chayav mitah? right? זאת אומרת, הבן אדם יכול לצאת, ואתה סוגר לו את הדלת, and now he's trying to, and he can't. How do you know you're חייב מיתה? So, שמואל דבר כזה, הפסוק says, או באבה. באבה is לרבות את המצמצם. את המצמצם is you're stopping and you're blocking the person from getting out. So therefore, it's like, you're stopping him from actually, whether it's going to be from the air or from, the guys in the water, and whichever way it is that you're stopping him, you're a murderer. There was a story that somebody was mitzamtzem be'emto of the friend in order to stay in the sun for a long time, and it died. So Ravina says he's going to be chayav. Rav Achabar Yaakov says he's going to be patur. Ravina says he's going to be chayav. It's a kavachomer, just like Beirotzeach that he didn't do shogeg u'mezid on his kiratzon, and still the mitzamtzem is going to be chayav. Nezikin, right? Ayin zayin amud aleph. Nezikin sha'asa ba'en shogeg u'mezid ve'ones beratzon en odin shechayav ba'en hamtzamtzem, that he should be chayav also as well. And then obviously we're going to see the other way, the other shita,